So, I'm here with Andy, and we're going to be talking about music again on this podcast. I know, man. Yeah. What have you been listening to since we last spoke? Excision, Zed's Dead, yeah. Jaws, No Manor, lots of just proper EDM, yeah. Fox Stevenson, Pendulum. Now that's the thing, because you've never really rated Pendulum, have you? Until now. I thought it's weird because my mate Reese was saying you should listen to Hold Your Colour. It's a fantastic album. It's like, I think that was like a proper statement for the band. Yeah. Because I've only ever heard the last album they did with Watercolour on. Yeah, and I thought that was, well, it wasn't their last album. They did a album after that, but I think Pendulum now are leaning towards trap. Yeah, because it's like Pendulum. I think Rob from Pendulum, he does a lot of great work solo. Yeah, I think that. And with Knife Party. Yeah, Knife Party are brilliant. But I think the whole sort of like drum and bass thing, it's like, it's weird because I've not gone off drum and bass, but I've been listening to so many different things. Yeah, quite lately. Because I've found that my northern side's coming out a bit here, but acid trance, yeah, is the best thing, yeah. Like acid trance is, the whole thing. But everybody loves trance music, just bog standard trance. I mean, people say, "Oh, we hate trance music," but they forget where they were when they heard "Children" by Robert Miles. Those iconic tunes. Those iconic face melting bangers, which they were. Like Tiesto's stuff. Oh, Tiesto's like the king. I don't care what people say, but I think Tiesto's the king of trance. And Sash, yeah. I prefer Sash's later stuff. His early stuff was a bit cheesy for my liking, but I really got into him later on when he was doing work with John Digweed. Yeah. Oh yeah, because they worked together, didn't they? They did. And John Digweed, I think he remixed On Colin Floor. Oh yeah. I think loads of people have remixed it. But that they had to rewrite the synth lead, the melody, the bum 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 bum. They had to rewrite it. Never. Yeah, they had to rewrite the synth because someone else used it before. But I think Faithless as well is, you know, my only issue with Faithless is the backing tracks, like Maxi Jazz. Great vocalist, great lyricist, great thinker, great spiritualist. Yeah, I love the interviews with Maxi Jazz. And the God is a DJ. Like, that is not a religious statement. No. And that's stated, yeah, like, that is like saying the DJ is, it's basically stating that the DJ is now a superstar. Because he was saying in an interview, DJs weren't superstars till the mid-90s. You know, I mean, I miss that side of the rave scene. But there was a time when people were hosting house parties. Like DJs hosting house parties. And people go to them and treat them like a rave. Yeah. Problem is, there's too many house proud people now, isn't there? Yeah, and there's two people, oh, what the neighbours do and all this shit. I think, people have moved on. And the culture's moved on. Yeah. I don't think the warehouse raves, don't think they will. The problem with a warehouse rave is if you go to some of these dickhead promoters, which there are a lot of, then the thing gets out of hand. Yeah. The events gets out of hand. But I knew a friend who did a rave. What was it called? Square Ink. And that is, it started out as an illegal rave and it's now a legal rave. Because they do it in proper venues now, but I remember when they did it in just bog standard places. Where was that studio you went to? Oh, Box Studios. Who did I see there? I saw a techno DJ who was like big on SoundCloud back then. Techno producer. And they had Becky Hill with them, and Becky Hill was a nothing. Yeah, do you know, I was told, like, Becky Hill, I think she went to Hugh Baird College, Becky Hill. But she was that big, like, I never knew her. Personally. I think she dropped me an email once saying, I'm doing a gig, do you want to come? And I wish I'd kept it. What, from Becky Hill? No way. Yeah, she's got a big vocal now. You can tell she's, like, you can tell where she's from. Yeah. But yeah, this techno producer. The thing is, like, techno in Liverpool, like, Liverpool techno is, now, it's a lot harder than the techno from down south. Yeah. It's like Irish techno. Irish techno. That's like. Have you heard Irish techno? It's freaking insane. Is it like German techno? Is it? And French house. Do you know what? I couldn't stand it at one time, French house, because I thought, don't get me wrong, I do love Daft Punk, but for some reason, I thought French house was a bit cheesier than. No. The first rave tune I ever heard was called Siren, Bring the Alarm. Or was it Break the Alarm? Fucking great tune. Do you know Skrillex? Sonny Moore from First to Last. Yeah. It's weird because I come. It was like a few years ago, and I was like, wasn't Skrillex in a rock band? There was a reason. Well, I liked Skrillex later on. Yeah. But he did some great records. Really? No, I liked. Well, I got to liking his dubstep, but I don't think he was the inventor of dubstep. He wasn't the inventor of dubstep. The thing with Skrillex was he made screaming bass lines. Yeah. And he was like, what Skrillex did, which no one was doing at the time, was bringing big drops in where they shouldn't be drops. And because everyone was like, because someone said to me, Skrillex doesn't know where to put his drops, and I'm like, nope, don't. I disagree. And I'd have these arguments with people for a long time about Skrillex and drops and build-ups and drops and build-ups and drops. And what Skrillex was doing at the time was he was bringing the build-up to a drop. Then the drop would be 10 seconds. You know. Well, the first tune I heard from Skrillex, I think it was Roughneck Bass, which is what we were all introduced to. And it was like, the drop was this piano thing. And it was like, the bass was like, I know what you mean. The bass line was a bit crap on that tune. But when we got, I'm breaking a sweat, it's alright. I played that tune so many times in sets. I even played it in sets, and people just hated it in the end. I absolutely loved. There were 3 tunes I absolutely loved and still love to this day. That's Breaking a Sweat, Urban Hype's Trip to Trumpton, yeah. And I can't remember what the other one was. And I danced to those tunes as well. Yeah. Urban Hype's Trip to Trumpton's a tune and a half, isn't it? It is. Well, it was my anthem for a while. And then everyone's like, oh, we don't like it. You don't play it, don't play it. I was like, what? I've got to play Urban Hype. It's my anthem. So, yeah. But I never get bored of Trip to Trumpton. Yeah. It's a freaking tune. I don't get bored of Roughneck Bass either. Do you like that? I freaking hate it. But you see, we've got differences there, because it's seriously, I've heard better dubstep, I've heard better brostep. You know, like Excision dropped harder tunes. Yeah. I couldn't disagree. It's like I think Pegboard Nerds, they are EDM. Yeah, they are EDM. I thought you were taking your girlfriend out. No, I cooked her a meal earlier. Oh, aren't you so romantic? I cooked her a meal. The Thai restaurant was fully booked, so I just cooked her a meal instead. Wow. You cook? Yeah? Yeah, I can cook. I surprised her. It wasn't beans on toast or anything like that. That's not... That's so unromantic. Anyway, we're recording the podcast now. Yeah, what do you think of... what do you... See, like... It's weird because through COVID... Do you remember in 2021, and I made the list for your car? Yeah. I was so bored, I was like, Andy, can I make a playlist? Because we were both listed the same tunes. And then we rediscovered Monster Cat. Because before that, it was like, I'd find a tune and you was like, oh, it's a belter this day. I was like, do you want me to put it in a playlist? That's how it started, wasn't it? Yeah. And then we'd listen to Alien Chaos, Infected Mushroom, Orvik, Rage Against the Machine. Oh, yeah. Quite a few punk bands. Street punk. We listened to a lot of punk. And then... what was that tune that you played? Ice. DJ Ice. There was something about you. Yeah. I played that, do you know, I was high on something. I was going to say something there that I would live to regret later on in life. Yeah. And I just zoned into that tune. It just lifted me. But then we rediscovered, we thought, I wonder what if Monster Cat's got any tunes on Spotify. You know, remember the tunes from like Muzz and... Yeah. And you're like, oh, Steve, I love all those tunes. Yeah. And then there was Pegboard Nerds and No Manor and... I never knew Pegboard Nerds were on Monster Cat. They must have been on Monster Cat later on. Because they were on a... I remember them when they were on a hardcore label. No, they've always been on Monster Cat. Oh, they did a tune. They did... Hero went onto a hardcore label. Yeah, because like Gamma and WizKid and all them were remixing hell out of it. Yep. Apparently there's a hardcore version to Crab Rave as well, but I've not heard it. Oh man, I'm going to have to... Do you know, that is my Instagram moment. Crab Rave. Yeah. I DM'd Ictio on his TikTok saying, have you had a Crab Rave moment yet? And he was like, I did a Crab Rave meme. I'm like, I know you did. we all had a Crab Rave moment. Let's just be honest. I used to play it in the office. Remember, I had a rule for a little while in the office going, we can only play... Because my sister Anne in her salon, she could only play royalty-free music because she didn't have a license. I said to her, Anne, a royalty-free license, you know, why don't you just Get a PRS license. Yeah. Or print one off. You know, the PRS aren't going to come round here, are they? You know, they're not going to knock on our door, are they? We're not like a restaurant, you know. Yeah, some tunes they'll play like unlicensed versions. Or their own version, yeah. There's a website that does like royalty-free versions of famous songs. But I was saying this to somebody in the Mount the other day. I said, if I was an artist, you know, if people were recording me live on stage, that's different. I would say, oi, you know, I've got plenty of songs on YouTube, plenty of songs on Instagram. Go and bootleg it from there. Yeah. Or my songs get played in plenty of pubs, plenty of restaurants. Bootleg there. You know, I think that's probably what's broke the industry with people downloading. No. It's what's broke the industry is people not being the downloading, because that would have saved the industry in my mind. See, you never own a song. It's there's the thing. You never own a song. Once it goes into once people buy it, that's when, you know. And I think now, because of AI and because of there's only so many notes in a scale. You know. Oh yeah, because like there's a new rule saying that they can only use so many notes, or yeah, they have to use the same notes and all of this. Yeah, the same notes and the same same chord pattern and the same chord progression and the same drum beat. Well, you know that song by the Beatles, Let It Be? There was a statement that Paul McCartney made ages ago saying, when I wrote Let It Be, they were the chords that would be used for future generations. Really? Yeah. It's been proven. There's that many songs written with the same chord progression. But the Beatles, what they did with Let It Be, you know, you've got Let It Be, you've got that chord progression. Right? Well, the most important thing about Let It Be is it's basically 4 chords. And then you've got that bum 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 bum. You got that, haven't you? Right? But really, it's the main part that's the 4 chords. And basically, Paul McCartney's idea was, because I think when that song came out, I think it was just before Punk, because he wanted to write a song that would be easy for other bands to follow suit. That was his idea. So when he wrote Let It Be, those chords were a statement. I think most Beatles songs, when you think about it, I mean, when you think about Eleanor Rigby, yeah. Well, I think the Beatles, they'd come from very different backgrounds. Yeah. You know, they come from jazz and classical and skiffle and blues. Yeah. And their early stuff, to be honest with you, the Beatles' early stuff was very rock and roll, and they were more rock and roll. But I think when they started doing stuff like Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, when they started doing all that, even though it was an off-the-wall project, you could see there was a lot of different elements of music, jazz and classical and yeah, things like Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields. Yeah, Penny Lane was more classical orientated, and Strawberry Fields was more rock and new world orientated. That was a very off the wall number, wasn't it? Strawberry Fields. Yeah. And Yellow Submarine, that was really off the wall. you know. But it's, that's where like my imagination goes off the wall completely. Like, do you think if you had LSD, do you think you'd be a lot more worse? Hey man, if I had a LSD, I don't know. I think everything would be enhanced. I think I wouldn't understand more or less. Um, you know, because, an LSD does not change. It does not make you come out of autism. No. It might make you strengther, it might make you sharper, but it won't change you in any way, shape or form. Because we're living the psychedelic experience every day. We live ego death and very comfortable with it, knowing that my ego gets revived every day. Wow, that's the most trippiest thing. Well, you've just got to crawl into the speaker. Into the darkest corners of the speaker. Yeah. That's actually an LSD reference. Do you think there's something inside the speaker or no? I'll tell you a funny story. I went to a gig in France. Well, actually, I didn't go to a gig in France. There was some event on, and we'd stopped in this hotel. It was the day before we caught the ferry, and my auntie Jeanette and Uncle Paul and that, they took me to this thing, and we had to walk down the road, and there was a fair on, but they had all little kids' rides, and then there was a rock band playing, and we sat, and I said, I said to Sammy, I said, let's go and listen to this band. And we stood by this band. They were like an indie rock band. They were very good. I've got to say, I've forgotten what they were called now. But but the audience all had cardboard boxes on their head. And I think my auntie went over. I can't remember my. And apparently she came back and said the reason they had the cardboard boxes on their heads is so they could feel the music. Now, back then, I knew nothing about LSD. I knew what drugs did, but I knew nothing what I know now. I mean, obviously, when you close your eyes, you can feel music and stuff. But they were on something, yeah. You know, the cardboard boxes. Yeah, it was so they could feel the music, man. I mean, this is the pre-2000s, you know. It was 2002, so yeah, man, I've never heard of that. Yeah, well, you have now. Well, actually, strange because I went when I went to see which band? Oh, Pixacata. People had those like they had buckets on their heads, and it was like because they did they did quite a few Rolling Stones covers. Mm. Yeah, well, there's a lot of theories, but that is my favourite one. If you put a cardboard box on your head, you can feel the music. Yeah, right. It's not even a good theory, to be honest with you, because if you put a cardboard box on your head, it's not going to vibrate any more than it will do if, I don't know. It's not like if you put a speaker cone on your head. Um, have you done that? No. No. There was a guy like ages and ages ago. He used to carry a cardboard speaker around with him. Walked around Liverpool carrying this cardboard speaker. And we stopped him and said, what are you doing that for? He says, oh, I'm just making music. Like, okay, whatever floats your boat, you know? I've seen cardboard pianos. Yeah, I've seen them. People going plinky plonky plinky plonk. Yeah, plunk plink plonk plink. Throw me some chinky chink. Oops. I meant money. You know, like put some coppers in my hat. You know, give me some copper. You know. But it's like, you know that busker, that Andy? I actually heard something about him the other day, right? Because he's, how can I put it? He just he just leaves his gear. Unfortunately, there's a lot of buskers who look after him now, but man, you know, you felt sorry for him, didn't you, when I read the yeah, you know, and why is he going from place to place all the time? First time I met him it was in Liverpool, And then he bust here for a while till he got his gear stolen twice. Mm. But he has recorded an album with somebody. Somebody was telling me, quite a few people were telling me, oh, I've recorded an album, so on and so forth. But anyway, I'm going to go because I want to drink. The beer is calling me.